Good morning, everyone. Welcome. Also, a special welcome to all of the parents and children that are here for the family camp weekend. I think it's been a really beautiful weekend. So I wanted to start with this reading from Whispers from Eternity. This is Demand for Union with the Almighty. O Father, behold me through the pores of the sky. Smile at me through the twinkling stars. Strengthen me through the sun. Calm my feelings through the moon. Caress me through the breeze. Love me through my love. Throb in me through my heart. Breathe thine immortality through this mortal frame of mine. Speak through my voice. Help others through my hands. Use my mind to inspire them. Breathe through my breath. For within this fragile viol, thou alone canst sing thy complete, eternal song. Such a beautiful prayer. So many beautiful prayers in that book. Well, recently, Swami Maria and I were giving a class for our sadhaka group, and she started it off with this beautiful affirmation: I live, move, and have my being in spirit. As a fish lives in the water and a bird in the air, I will consciously draw strength, health, and happiness from this all-pervading presence. And I thought that affirmation just so perfectly captures this topic of abiding in God, because it has these two parts. As a fish in water, as a bird in the air, we are abiding in God already. We can't escape it. We wouldn't be here if it weren't for that. And we have this opportunity to consciously draw on that presence, that all-pervading presence. And so we, of course, are sustained by that presence. And that's what Jesus and all the masters come to awaken us to, that reality that you're not on your own here. There's a divine presence flowing through you. But how consciously are we living in that reality? Are we drawing on that divine presence? The more that we can live consciously abiding in God, live consciously aware of that divine presence in every moment, aim high. Because the more we do that, the greater our joy, the greater our ability to be a channel for that joy, for that light, for that divine presence in this world. And I think we can all agree that the world needs that. The world needs to be more aware of that divine presence. It's what guides all of us, whether we realize it or not. But the more we tune into that, the more we can be guided by that higher consciousness, not just by our little likes and dislikes. And the more we can be an example to everyone else. There's a better way. There's another way to move through this world, to relate to what's happening to us. So how can we learn to attune and live more consciously in God, in that presence? I found this little story. It was about a group of scholars that all went to this religious teacher, and the teacher asked them, where does God dwell? And they were like, come on, that's such an easy question. You know, God's everywhere, God's in everything. And the teacher said, no, God dwells where man lets him in. And this is really the key to our attunement, to abiding in God, is our receptivity, our ability to open our hearts. The purification ceremony is such a beautiful reminder of this every week. I have to say, if you haven't come for purification in a while, make it a point to come, because it's such a deep ceremony. It's such a deep blessing. The Master says, open your heart to me, and I will enter. I'm already here, and I will take charge of your life. What greater promise can there be than that? To attune ourselves to that divine presence that's already there. So I was tuning into this topic and thinking about how do we abide in God? And I think one of the most important things is that we need to make space for God in our lives. It's so easy to get busy and distracted and restless and to constantly be going and doing and engaged in so many ways, some of them which are very beautiful and powerful and meaningful, our service and all of that. And yet we can be so restless and so distracted that it can be quite difficult, even when we sit to meditate, to feel that divine presence. And so, of course, in meditation, that's our time to make space for God, to abide in God. But it can't only be in meditation. We have to take that through our daily lives and make space for stillness, for silence. Swami Kriyananda, I found this article in one of the old Clarity magazines. There's a lot of those great articles on the library. And in one of them he said, our spiritual development is determined to a very large degree by the little things we do. The distractions, the fillers, these are the little things that make it impossible to listen to the divine voice within us. Think about that for a moment. I think we've all had that experience. You know, we finally have a moment to meditate. We even go, maybe we go someplace special to meditate, and where's God? There's all this restlessness, all this distraction that we've been feeding. So we have to make space in our day-to-day lives, and we have to look at what are those distractions? What are those fillers? What are those choices that we're making that keep us engaged in our senses, that keep us engaged with our likes and dislikes, and keep us restless? And what are those choices that help us to live more in the spine? That's what Jesus is inviting us to do. Abide in me. Live in the spine. Live more in that calm presence. We've all had a touch of that, at least. We've all had a taste of that. But we have to cultivate that, and we have to make space for that in our lives. There was a wonderful article that was going around the community recently on the power of silence, all this research that had been done. And one of the things was just 2 or 3 days of silence actually changes the brain, actually changes the way our brain works. Wow, that's powerful. Why is that? Think about it. What are we making space for? When we're in silence, there's not all these, it's that divine presence that's already there can flow more powerfully, and we can be changed by that. We are changed by that. Now, maybe we can't take 2 or 3 days of silence. A lot of us live very busy lives. So look for, where can I make space in my day? Maybe there are some fillers or some distractions, maybe just one that I can let go of, that can make a little more space. In a letter to a devotee, Swami Kriyananda, there's a beautiful book of his letters called In Divine Friendship, which I highly recommend. And in one of the letters, he says to someone, we're here for God alone. Everything else is just fillers. Interesting. So what are those fillers? We have to pay attention to that. And they can creep in sometimes, these little habits, you know, like, oh, I gotta listen to the news while I eat my breakfast. I gotta check my email before, you know. It's like, how busy do we really need to be? You know? You know, there's busy, there's, you know, we have to be active, of course. But how much do we kind of create this busyness, this restlessness, this always being engaged? It's not good for us. It's not good for us. It's not good for that part of us that really wants to abide in God. It goes against that. And so pay attention, maybe look for what's one filler, one habit that you can let go of this week that can just make a little more space for stillness, for silence. You know, seclusion is so powerful, and I highly recommend that as well. Those of you that are in the Living Discipleship program are going to have an opportunity for some seclusion. Take advantage, dive deep. You know, I'm always amazed, no matter how many times I take seclusion, it's like when you get rid of the distractions, you let go of the responsibilities, you put everything else aside, God is there. That divine presence is just so there. That stillness, that peace is so there. All we have to do is set everything else aside, which can be hard to do. But find ways to do that as we go through our day, as we go through our lives. Make sure you have that daily meditation practice. But then when you get up, maybe don't right away check your email. Maybe leave a little space. You know, just look for those places. Where can I leave some space? The other thing I wanted to touch on was the quote from the Bhagavad Gita. So beautiful. I am the source of everything. From me, all creation emerges. Blessed with this realization, the wise, awe-stricken, adore me. Awe-stricken. This need, if we're really going to abide in God, to cultivate that sense of awe, that sense of adoration, of devotion, to be more in our hearts. It's so easy to get caught in our intellect, in our reason. It's what's prevalent in our society, especially those of us that maybe live in the Palo Alto area, even more so. I know there's some of you visiting. It's, you know, it's this obsession with relating everything back to the mind, to the intellect, and trying to figure things out. But all of us can get caught in it. I mean, think how many times a day you have a thought, you want to know something, you want to know how to do something, you need an answer. What do? You Google. You go on Google and you find out. You go on the internet. Or now you can use AI to help solve all your problems. You know? And it's like, what are we really relying on? And are we abiding in God in those moments? Are we drawing on this all-pervading presence that sustains us, that carries us through every moment of our lives, that answers every problem? We're not drawing on it all the time, though. We're getting caught. I had an interesting experience a couple weeks ago during Spiritual Renewal Week. Can't believe that was like a 2 weeks ago now. A group of us were having lunch, and someone came over and started taking a picture. There was a beautiful big black and yellow butterfly on this purple butterfly bush. And so someone came over to take a picture, and it just drew all of our attention to it. And so we were just all like, wow, look at that butterfly, and commenting on the wings and just like enjoying it, just appreciating it and talking about it. And then someone took out their phone and looked up what kind of butterfly was it. And it was so funny because as soon as they said it, it was like all awe, all sense of wonder. It just disappeared. It's like, oh, okay, that's what kind of butterfly it is. And we just like moved on. And it's so interesting, like we can cut ourselves off from that divine presence so easily without even realizing it. And there's such a need to just be more in our hearts, to be more in that childlike sense of wonder. All the parents that are here for this weekend realize what a gift that is, to see the world through the eyes of a child, to feel that sense of awe and wonder at everything. And then somehow we just forget, we lose that in our lives, but we can bring it back. We can bring it back. I was thinking about the story that Swami Kriyananda tells in The New Path about the group of devotees. They were trying to move this big, heavy tropical plant. And apparently they weren't being very delicate, because Master cried out, "Be careful what you're doing. Can't you feel it's alive?" And it's a wonderful reminder for all of us. We have to use and cultivate that sense of feeling to be able to feel that divine presence in everything. How sensitively the masters are able to feel and tune into that divine presence in the plants, in the animals, in everything, in every person. We too have that ability. We have to develop it, though. And, maybe we can't all go around our everyday being in this sense of awe and wonder. We have to operate in our lives. But one way in particular that can be helpful is by practicing gratitude. It really is a powerful way of opening the heart. A friend of mine sent me an article recently that actually talked about all of the research in how practicing gratitude actually physiologically helps your heart, regulating your blood pressure, lowering the stress hormones, decreasing inflammation, all these wonderful good side effects from practicing gratitude. But really what's happening, we all know, is that it's changing our consciousness, which is really what's changing everything else. It's shifting our consciousness, it's raising our consciousness. And when that happens, everything else changes. So practicing gratitude, it can seem really simple, but there's something very powerful about when we genuinely practice gratitude, when we really pay attention with that lens of gratitude to whatever is happening in our lives. I really appreciate the affirmation that Swami Kriyananda wrote for gratitude, which is, "I give thanks to the giver behind each gift and the one giver behind all that I receive." Sometimes I forget that second part, that one giver behind all that I receive. It's super powerful and super important to pay attention with that lens of gratitude and look for things to be grateful for, people and circumstances, but then to take it that one step further, to tune in and pay attention and feel the real depth of gratitude, which is for that one giver behind all that is, that divine presence, that all-pervading presence behind everything we receive, everything we're grateful for, everything that happens to us. When I lived in Rhode Island, and still to this day, our little center that we have in Rhode Island, every Thanksgiving has this beautiful gratitude ceremony. And, a little celebration with some chanting and different things, but then everybody gets a little tea-light candle, and I'm talking like 40, 50 people. Everybody gets a little candle, and one at a time, people light that candle and share what they feel grateful for. And it's one of the most moving ceremonies, and I remember still the first time that I went, it really taught me what gratitude really is, because sometimes it can seem like gratitude's just thinking of the positive things, the things that we like, that we're grateful for, and that's powerful. There's no doubt about that, because it does shift our attention, shift our consciousness, our awareness. But as people were going around, people were not just grateful for the nice things in their lives. People were expressing this depth of gratitude for the challenges in their lives. the conflicts. Thank you for the cancer. Thank you for this relationship. All of these different, I was like, and it was interesting because when it got to be my turn, here I was. I just felt this overwhelming gratitude for everything that had led me to that moment, all the difficulties, all the challenges. And we can be transformed by a depth of gratitude like that. It's interesting because I see that same beautiful spirit here in this community. Every time, when people are sharing about what's going on in their lives, there's such an undercurrent of joy and gratitude. I have to share, there's someone in our community recently who broke her left thumb, poor thing. And she posts to the community, "We are so lucky to know that everything that comes is joy and from God, particularly when you do something like break a bone in your left thumb." I mean, that's just one example, but everyone here that lives here just expresses that spirit of joy, of gratitude, of abiding in God so beautifully. So I just wanted to end with this last thought, which is the need sometimes for faith when it comes to abiding in God. Because we're not always going to feel or perceive that divine presence in every moment, in every meditation, even when we really, really want to. Whatever it is, karma or circumstances or habits, it happens. We're not always acutely aware of that divine presence. But there's always some part of us that knows that He is here, that He is with us, and we have to cling to that. We have to cling to that. I was thinking about this phrase in the reading today, "For without me, ye can do nothing." Nothing. I mean, just think about that for a moment. Even to want to be inspired, even to want to abide in God, even if you're not feeling it, even every breath, every thought, just to be here, we can do nothing without God. So never for a moment think somehow that you're separate, that you're apart, that you're not capable of feeling God's presence. He's right here with you, nearer than the nearest, dearer than the dearest, as Yogananda said. Whether we realize it consciously or not, we are abiding in God. So let's make the space for God. Let's cultivate that sense of awe and devotion, practice gratitude, and have faith in that presence, that all-pervading presence. I'm going to close with a reading from Metaphysical Meditations by Yogananda. So if you feel to, close your eyes. He says, "Lock the eyelid doors and shut out the wild dance of tempting scenes. Drop your mind into the bottomless well of your heart. Hold the mind on your heart, bubbling with your life-giving blood. Keep your attention tied to the heart until you feel its rhythmic beat. With every heartbeat, feel the knock of almighty life. Picture the same all-pervading life knocking at the heart door of 8 billion human bodies and of billions of living creatures. The heartthrob constantly, meekly announces the infinite power standing behind the doors of your awareness. The gentle beat of all-pervading life says to you silently, do not receive only a little flow of my life, but expand the opening of thy feeling powers, and let me flood thy blood, body, mind, feelings, and soul with my throbs of universal life. Oh, amen.
If you're seeking freedom in a revolution, oh, if you're seeking freedom, you won't find it there. For once the guns stop blazing, you'll find it amazing how the world can drag on just as before. If you're seeking freedom in a marble mansion, oh, if you're seeking freedom, you won't find it there. For even when it's sunny, you'll be counting money, keeping up that showcase, your face lined with care. And if you're seeking freedom on a throne of power, oh, if you're seeking freedom, you won't find it there. For though men all obey you, what if they betray you? Tense you'll be and waiting for foes everywhere. But if you're seeking freedom, cast away desires, why barter like a beggar? You've wealth everywhere. For never can you buy it, grasp and you deny it. Freedom can't be hoarded, it's free as the air. And if you're seeking freedom, seek it on the mountains, God's sunlight on your shoulders, the wind in your hair. For there's no one can hold you, boss about or mold you. Once your heart is free, you'll be king everywhere. For there's no one can hold you, boss about or mold you. Once your heart is free, you'll be king everywhere.
Yes, it's she, the divine mother.